Hey, just so you know, Danville's newest mural along the Riverwalk Trail is based on the children's book, The Dan River Twins. The book was created as a project of Danville Parks and Recreation. The Danville Riverview Rotary took on the project of turning the book into a mural. The mural is located on a 150-foot wall behind Woodall Chevrolet along the Riverwalk Trail in Danville. The Rotary contracted with mural artist Carla Garrison-Mattos of Paintings and Things by Carla from Charlotte, North Carolina. She specializes in the design and installation of custom murals for commercial and residential clients. She is also a professional pet portrait artist, painting her clients' beloved animals using acrylic on canvas. And she also has an Etsy shop where you can find the cutest little itty bitty critter committee work. And Carla, I did look at your Etsy shop and they are adorable.
That is my I am avoiding doing what work I've been commissioned to do. And instead I just feel like painting goofy things to sort of give my brain a rest. And then that went from hobby into like an Etsy page.
Carla, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am a full-time artist. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm originally from Illinois, right west side of Chicago. I moved down here about 25 years ago now and have kind of bounced all around the Carolinas and landed in Charlotte. I've been married to my wife of 11 years. We have 3 dogs. And for the last going on 7 years now, I have been a full-time muralist and, like you said, pet portrait artist. And because I paint pet portraits, I also actually teach paint your pet classes to adults in most of the times places where there's booze. So breweries, bottle shops, wineries, things like that. It helps to get rid of the OCD and the nerves and everything. That's got to rid yourself of that. So yeah, I love what I do and I work way harder than I should. I'm definitely a workaholic, but I love my job. So I really can't complain. I work so much because I get really excited about every new project I get hired for. It's always something totally different.
Yeah, I like what you said about, the booze helps with inhibitions because I don't know where I would start to paint. I have one cat, Wesley. I don't know where I'd start to paint him. So yeah, I would have to
Oh yeah,
join
I'm
you in that before.
beginners. I make it so I sketch out, they send me the picture ahead of time. I sketch out on a 16 by 20-inch canvas the outline along with like a kind of paint by number color guide. But then instead of doing a paint by number, I actually teach how to do different kinds of blending and brush strokes to make something look a little bit more realistic than you might just do in a regular paint by number. And so hopefully people walk away learning something. Most of the time I have repeat clients, people love their animals, people have multiples a lot of times. I have one lady who's taken 9 classes. She gives them away as Christmas gifts to her friends every year. So it's
That's cool.
fantastic.
So she has fun and then she gives a gift from her fun. I like that.
It's been so exciting to watch her progress in her art style. When she first started, I mean, they were, good, but beginners. And now she barely needs any kind of coaching from me at all. I just walk around and give her positive feedback. But in my opinion, the key to bringing the artist out of the person who doesn't think that they have any artistic talent is definitely alcohol and a whole lot of positive feedback.
Yeah.
So I am a big time positive Polly when I'm teaching, and I'll be skipping around the room being excited, and that makes people excited about their own work. So then they end up with something they're proud of.
Oh, nice. Well, we've talked about your pet portraits, but initially I contacted you because of the mural in Danville and because I'm doing a project on the art in Danville. How did you get into painting murals?
I'd always wanted to paint large scale, even when I was a little girl. The house that my parents still live in Illinois now, when they had built that, it had a whole lot of blank walls. And I was just foaming at the mouth to try to paint those walls. My parents told me I could paint some walls in the basement, but then they let me paint in my sister and I's shared bathroom. So I painted this big underwater scene with fish and everything. And then I spilled blue paint all over the white carpet. And that took 2 days of carpet cleaning to get out. So I kind of put that on hold for a while, but got back into it as an adult, kind of by accident. I did go to college for art. So I went to Winthrop University in Rock Hill
Mhm.
and studied every kind of art I could. I took sculpture and painting and jewelry and woodworking and all of it. I just really wasn't sure where I wanted to go with my art. Right out of college, I ended up working in an art gallery, which I ended up purchasing. And then a few years later, the economy, 2011 hit, and I ended up having to close our doors, which kind of made it so that I really was focusing more on my own art and where I wanted to go with my art. So it kind of started with pet portraits. And then I started working as a bartender part time at Noda Brewing Company, a local brewery here in Charlotte. And the owner, Susie Ford, was like a second mom to me. She's just an amazing human being. And she asked me one day if I would maybe want to paint one of the walls in the tap room. And I was like, oh my God, yes, because I had done a pet portrait for her and she just loved it. And she wanted it to be an employee mural. And it was on cinder block, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't have the right materials. I literally found a teacher that I knew and got one of those old school projectors where you put the see-through transfer paper to
Mhm.
project my design up onto the wall, which did not work at all. So then I had to hand sketch it, and then I used all the wrong materials, and it turned out really great though. So kind of by this process of doing every single thing wrong, I really learned what not to do.
Mhm.
And then after that, my friend Matt Hooker, who is also well, he was a muralist in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now he's a tattoo artist. Easy to switch between professions as an artist, I think. But I remember him literally cracking his knuckles and saying, "Well, how's your aerosol game?" Click. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And he said, you need to learn how to use spray paint if you're going to do murals because you're going to get bigger jobs and you're going to get them done faster. And also, you need to start researching your materials. So I got an account at Sherwin-Williams, and ever since then, they have helped me find the right paint for every project. If I'm using can paint, and when I'm using spray paint, I have spent the last 9 years mastering how to use spray paints, kind of on my own, YouTube videos, Instagram videos, anything I can find. But I will say, once you've painted one brewery, other breweries want your work. So my early body of work is like brewery after brewery after brewery. And it's only been in the last 4 years or so that I've been painting all sorts of different buildings, especially really large ones, and kind of getting a wider reach rather than just the breweries. You can only paint hops so many times.
Oh wow. I wish I had known you probably about a month ago and maybe asked for a favor because I just directed a production of Avenue Q, and my set was of course based on Sesame Street because the show itself is it's called Sesame Street for Adults, but we wanted tagging on the show on the set to make it more run down, of course, because
Right.
it's Avenue Q, it's not Sesame Street. And we couldn't find anybody who could do it.
It's way harder than you think.
Yes.
And I was not one of those I will say a number of mural artists that I am friends with, especially my very best mural artist friend, Switch. They all started out as taggers, painting trains and running from cops. And I didn't do any of that. I was like in college studying art, trying to
Uh,
be something that I didn't even know what I wanted to be, and they're out there doing illegal stuff. And so they had all this practice and I didn't. So I really wish that I'd kind of had that background because I've done two graffiti style murals and it is way tougher than it looks. And like, yes, which has made fun of me a little bit because he's like, you're not a natural tagger. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. I was learning
well,
perspective and I didn't learn this.
I am sure you could have done better than what we had, but we did okay.
It's
We
fun
had
though.
a
Very
young lady who she did the best she could, and it looked cool. So
Oh yeah, just go crazy, spraying, let it drip around occasionally. It'll look good.
um, one thing like my project here is talking about outdoor art and things that are that you can see on trails and river accesses and things like that. Working with Darba, how do you feel about the fact that, or what does it mean to you that your mural is in a public place that's outside that people can see all the time?
Oh, it's amazing. I absolutely love getting to create public art. A lot, I mean, I've painted over 100 murals, but I can't say that all of them have a lot of public access. You know, some are indoors, some are in people's homes, some are on the side of a building that you're really not going to walk past unless you're going in that building.
Hmm.
So to have something that such a huge part of the area can see on a regular basis and encourage them to get out more and look at something beautiful instead of maybe the back of a building, you know, just kind of sprucing that up a bit. It just means so much because it gets people outside, it gets them excited. My favorite thing in the world is when I see someone taking a photo in front of my art. It's just, it makes me so happy. It makes my heart just explode. And when I was out there painting it, I got to see that firsthand because I worked on that mural for 11 days. And just so many, you know, parents and their kids and just, you know, all ages, all demographics would come by and just compliment and get really excited and come back day after day to check on the progress. And so you know that they're continuing to come back, and that's a regular part of their routine now. So I think it's such an honor to create something that so many people will see. It's not something you're going to buy and put in your home and only you are going to see it on the wall. You know, everyone and anyone can see this, and that is just the best part about it.
Cool. I love that. Now, of course, this mural was kind of your inspiration kind of came from the book that they asked you to. But where do you other art that you do? Where do you get your inspiration from?
I definitely am very inspired by nature. My whenever I was actually supposed to go camping this past weekend, which I was really looking forward to, but the hurricane changed all of that. But my favorite place to go, which unfortunately is underwater right now, is Hot Springs, North Carolina. It's right on the border of Tennessee, and I know that they'll recover. You know, I mean, I have to because I have to go back. But I love to sit and do what's called plein air painting, where you
Mhm.
just paint out in nature. You're not really, you know, working from a photograph. You're literally working from just the world around you. And that is my favorite way to decompress. And so I have so many paintings that I've created while I was there, whether it be the birds there or the bridges or the river going by. It's on the French Broad River. It's my happy place. It's how I find peace, just to sort of sit and paint in nature and kind of let my brain just go and enjoy what I'm seeing around me. So I try to work that into as many of my paintings as I can. I can't always because clients ask for different things.
Mhm.
The mural that I just finished last week was a blueprint. Can't really work much nature into that. But I do love painting animals. I mean, I think that goes back to my pet portrait painting background. And so whenever I can paint an animal, I get very excited about it. And recently I've really started to try to add some unexpected colors into those portraits just because I just kind of like the idea of the light glistening off of their fur or their skin in a different way and creating a color that you wouldn't have expected. So I really just kind of try to bring that play between light and reality together, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And you actually answered my second question about nature in one question, so we can move on. um, well, the mural you painted in Danville, we keep talking about it, but let me see if I can share that. Let me pull it up. I'm going to share it real quick so everybody can see. Whoops, that's not the one I wanted to share. There it is. Um, well, share screen. I know it's here somewhere. Share screen. There it is. Bright green.
Bright green.
Yes. Um, here's your mural. It's gorgeous along the Riverview. Oh gosh, uh, Riverview. It's I want to say it right. Exactly what it's called.
What is
Riverwalk Trail. Thank you.
Riverwalk Trail? Got it. Yeah.
The Riverwalk Trail in Danville. I've been there. I've seen it. It's gorgeous. Um, is there a certain part of this? I mean, because it's got beautiful colors in here. Is there a certain area of it that you like better than others,
Yeah.
or that is your favorite?
My favorite is the very last otter all the way to the right. He's sort of a teal
Ah,
base color and he's just got the happiest smile on his face. I was actually giggling out loud when I was painting him. And that's always how I know when I'm doing something I'm going to love forever, because I will start to giggle while I'm painting and kind of like dance around. And then I always hope that no one's secretly recording, because I know that I just turn into a dork about my art when I'm happy. And he just made me so happy. I love him.
You're talking about him, aren't you? I love him. I love all the colors in him. He is just uh he looks like a rainbow. I just love it.
I couldn't stop. I mean, I actually don't even think I had that many colors in my initial mock-up that I presented Dan the Rotary.
Uh-huh.
And I just kept adding them in person. And I was like, hopefully they're okay with this. But they seemed to like everything else I had done. So I felt like I had a little creative freedom there to just sort of explore what colors I wanted to add in. Sometimes when I go color shopping for paints, I have this list of colors that I need. I make a color story based on my digital design that I've mocked up. And I go to the paint store and I start matching all those colors. However, what always inevitably happens is that I get very excited because I see a color that maybe I haven't seen before, or I just like. So I'm like, yoink, and I get those. And then I'll try to work them into the mural here and there just because, that just looks like a fun color to use. And I get inspired as I go along.
I definitely understand where you're going. Um I I'm in my 50s now, and when as I've all the years I've been in the same house for over 30 years. And so I was like, okay, let's decorate this way, let's decorate this way, make it look nice, make it look like when people come to visit and stuff. Now I'm like, I just want some color in here. I don't want it plain. Let's have some fun with it. So I'm kind of moving towards that.
We actually just bought, we're under contract on a new house in South Carolina. So we're planning on moving out of this house and renting it, and then buying the new house in South Carolina. And the walls are all completely white. It's a brand new build. And I had sent the links to the house to my sisters, and they were looking at it online. And one of my sisters was like, "Oh, well, those walls aren't going to be white for long." Like, not with me coming in, no.
Do you ever paint murals in your own home?
Yes. So it's hard to see behind me. Actually, you can kind of see some flowers
Oh,
through, like behind I just took a white marker one day. I was working on a totally different project, and then I was like, just decided to draw on this wall. And then I did draw stuff all over the kitchen. I've repainted over that since then and done some other things. And then in the den, there is a big, what I call a watermark mural, because it's just gray walls with darker gray and lighter gray paint overlapped, with dogwood flowers, just sort of the
oh,
outlines, and they kind of cascade across the walls. So it's really not even necessary to have any other artwork on the walls because the mural is there. And then in my bedroom, I did some ginkgo leaves just climbing up the walls as well, because I just like how they look. So
all
very
natural.
very nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with flowers. I have a lot of tattoos, and most of them are floral inspiration. Currently, my back is being done with a bunch of flowers, and we're almost done with it. And on to the next one.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask, because I did get a chance to read the book. It's very cute. And it's online. I will put the link to the book in my research at the end of the program, so anyone who wants to read the book can go, and it's free online to read. It's you can page through it and everything. It's really cool. But the illustrations in the book were done by, I think, Mark Will Fowler. Will
Well,
Fowler. How did you? I mean, I know, of course, I mean, you did not, of course, copy him. That's, it. How did you take inspiration from his illustrations and create your own artwork?
actually really tried to block out his illustrations while I was reading it, because I didn't want to be uh, influenced by it,
Yeah,
because you can accidentally take too much inspiration from someone else. So a lot of the times with my clients, when I ask them to send me inspiration photos, I don't mean another mural that you want me to emulate. I mean
right.
something that you just like, because it is very easy to accidentally take too much inspiration from something. But I glanced but did not really look at them very much. And then the way that I design is when I design animals that aren't supposed to be hyper realistic, because obviously I did not go for hyper realism here in this case. I wanted it to be more cartoony and kind of whimsical. So I do like to take shape, however, from a real otter, let's say.
Mhm.
So I looked up photos of real otters on some sites that I use, free reference photos for artists. I'm in a Facebook group where photographers can post pictures that they've taken in every category you can imagine, and these are free for artists to use, so you're not copywriting anyone or copyright infringement. And so I used these cute otters that were kind of standing up, or one was like legitimately laughing like that. And I thought, oh my God, I have to paint him. And then I just sort of sit that next to me. And when I'm sketching, I take inspiration from that real form. And yet I change it to be more painterly and a little more kind of cartoonified. And then, of course, change the colors quite a bit too. But I
Yeah.
wanted to see the way that otters really floated on their backs when they were just kind of floating on the river, and you know, how they're really kind of moving when they're coming out of the water. So I do take that realistic approach, but then I just completely change it as I'm drawing it and it's forming in my brain. But
Yeah.
it is really hard sometimes to like not go back to, oh, but you know, is this how the illustrator really wanted it? And am I taking it too far? So it's kind of hard to find that happy balance to make sure that you're not stealing and you're not copying and you're being original, but not too original.
Yeah. Oh, I love the fact that you talked about taking inspiration from real life uh, to do that, because I think when artists do that, it makes the it it brings the cartoons to life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if it's got that realism embedded in it, then the cartoons have this life of their own.
Yeah,
Again,
recognizable, but it's kind of funky. So you're like,
yeah,
wait, I know that, but why is it blue?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, I'm gonna. I, I don't mean to keep doing this, but I'm gonna go back to my Avenue Q things, because Avenue Q is a show that it combines real life actors and puppets on
Oh,
stage.
yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah. So, directing that show, we had to work with the puppets to make them real. I mean, and so we had to study like how people move and how people move their mouths to make the puppets real, but still have this air of cartoonish because they are puppets.
Right,
So
like recognizing them as being a living being, even though they're not, but still focusing in on, okay, that's something I recognize. I do that mannerism when I'm upset too, you know.
exactly, exactly. Um, well, we talked about you being a mural artist. Can you tell us a little bit about the process that you go through?
So I always start with a consultation. I like to meet my client. If it's far away, like the Danville mural was, then everything goes over Zoom, and we email back 1,000 times before we get to, you know, the finish line. There's a ton of communication that goes into it. But basically what I'm looking for from the consultation is, you know, what do you want this mural to convey? What point are you trying to make? Is it for your business? Are you trying to market something? Are you just trying to celebrate something? Is there anything that you specifically want included into it? So it's a big kind of question and answer sort of situation. And then I give them a base quote for maybe different size options for the mural, so we can hopefully fit any budget. I really like to make sure that everyone gets to get public art, even if we've got to go a little bit smaller, it can still be amazing. So we just kind of try to work on it that way. And once we've decided on our budget, and I take a 20% deposit, which goes towards me beginning the design process. So I work on my tablet and I use a program called Procreate, which is super user friendly. And I do a digital design of my ideas for the mural. Normally, I present 3 to 5 designs. However, for Danville, I knew that I was up against one other artist. And so I only wanted to give them one option. So I just put together the best design that I could come up with within our budget and hopefully get chosen. And I did, and I'm so happy about it. Um, after the initial, when they accept the design, once they've seen it, maybe, you know, there's some tweaks that they want to make, whatever, you know, add this, take away that. I allow 2 revisions in the initial cost. However, people can get very carried away with this process. So we do start charging after 2 revisions, because
Yeah.
when I first started in the mural business, I had to learn that the hard way. And 20 revisions later, I was in tears. And
Oh,
then we ended up back at square one with my initial design. So I kind of wanted to yank my hair out, and I learned a valuable lesson. Cap it off, make people pay for extra, and then they will be concise with their like they'll actually really put some good thought into it. So that way
yeah.
you can really get to what you're going for way quicker, and it doesn't have to be a crazy long process. So streamlines it really well. Then after they've decided on the design, that's when I create my little color story, where I pretty much click on every single color I've used in there and make a little blob guide with, you know, this is for a bird, this is for a beaver, this is for a otter. And then I go and I buy my colors. And then I get started on our agreed upon start date. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I think the design process takes way longer than anything else, just because you're trying to pull what's in someone else's brain out and put it on paper, you know. So it's trying to, I really like to get to know my clients and what they're really going for, to make sure that I'm getting exactly what they had in mind and that they're really happy with it, because otherwise, what's the point?
Well, I noticed this mural is on 2 different surfaces. You've got the metal surface at the top, and then you got the concrete base at the bottom. What do is that a different process? Do you have to use different paints or?
Really, what it's all really based on. For the exterior murals, I always use either exterior latex acrylic paint, or I use Montana brand spray paint. And both of those are very durable and long lasting. What it really is based on is the primer. So that one was the metal corrugated surface. I did ask the Rotary to prime that for me using a direct to metal primer, which is a primer that will stick directly to metal. And then when you paint on top of it, it bonds to that primer. And then after the primer is done and your mural is painted, then I put a sealant on top of it to protect it from the elements. It's like wearing sunscreen, so it'll just make it last longer. And, you know, if any taggers do decide to join in on the mural fun, then hopefully it can easily be wiped off.
Let's hope not. While
Right.
tagging is fun, and I'm
There's
not going to speak on that, but
already have
this
art.
is an art. This is art.
Yeah, I sweated for 11 days on that. Okay, people, that
It
was
was
not
hot
the
then.
coolest
Yeah.
time. It was 100 degrees out most days. It was 97, I exaggerate, but still. It was a brutal summer, this one was. It was a difficult one, but we got through it. I was actually only able to paint for about 4 to 6 hours a day, because the heat was so bad and it was in full sun. There really wasn't any shade on that wall at all throughout the day. At 8 o'clock a.m., the sun was directly on you, and that's how it was for the duration. It was a little bit rainy as well,
Mhm.
which was kind of nice, because occasionally it was overcast, which, as long as it wasn't raining, I was happy. Block that sun out, give me a little reprieve, and let me work as long as I can for the day. But I told them I'd get it done in 11 days, and I did it, and I'm very proud about that.
Well, I was going to ask you about the process with the weather and that, but you kind of answered that, and you did make your timeline,
Yes,
so
I
that's
I was definitely just like, I'm gonna do this. I mean, not that I absolutely had to, but when I say something, I really try to follow through with it. I don't want to be that kind of, you know, flighty artist that we all hear about. Well, I mean, I am, but but I don't, business wise, I don't want to be like that.
you reined it in a little bit.
I am good at one thing, and that is my job. Everything else, I'm like, car taxes, who does that?
Um,
Kidding, those are paid.
so you used acrylic and spray paint for this.
For this mural, actually, it was very, very little hand painting. So
Okay.
the Rotary actually went out and primed it before I ever arrived, which was amazing, because they had a, a professional commercial painter who was a part of the Rotary. So he
Okay.
lent his knowledge of paint and materials. And they got that primer up, which I had asked them to prime it blue because a lot of the mural is blue already. So we kind of got that base coat down. And then I used to transfer my image up onto the wall. There's a lot of different methods that you can use to make an image, this big to wall size.
Mhm.
150 feet long. That was a whole new challenge for me. I couldn't use a projector. It was just too long. And I didn't want to because you always have to go out in the dark when you do the projection. And I'm not a night owl and I'm not a morning person. So I'm a middle of the day girl. And so I used actually kind of a grid system with it. I realized when I got there that every 12 inches was a groove in the corrugated metal I was painting on. So
Oh.
I knew that each one of those sections was 1 foot. And so I cut my design into 10-foot increments. And then I measured from the top to the bottom, and that was 10 feet. So 5 feet being the middle. So now I have a 5 foot by 10 foot grid, which is also easier to cut down if you need to.
Mhm.
And then I look at my little grid, which I've drawn out on my little printouts of my mural, and I do 10-foot sections at a time. And I just kind of got that basic sketch up there and just went down the wall. That was day number one. It took about 6 or 7 hours to get that image up onto the wall. And I mean, it's not always perfect. I did mess up a couple of times, step back and go, ooh. So my measurement was a little off, but then I got it back on track. And yeah, I will say the Rotary really, their assistance in this project is the reason that I was able to get it done on time. They came out in a whole group one evening, and then a couple other mornings. Martha, who I love, and also James Turner, who coordinated the whole thing. They would come out and just grab a roller, grab a paintbrush, and say, "What can I do?" And so one of the techniques I really used on this mural is something I've done before whenever I have a helper, where I have my design drawn out and then I say, okay, you paint this section green, and it's already outlined. So all they do is put the paint in the green. It doesn't have to be clean, doesn't have to be good, because then I come by afterwards with spray paint and I make it amazing. And I add in the details and some highlights and some shadows and all the other fun stuff. So people put that base coat down for the otters, for the trees, for the grasses, all that. And it was just such a huge help. And then I just go back over it with detail work and fine tune it.
I didn't know that. That's wonderful. A true community project. That is
Absolutely.
cool.
I was so moved. I mean, it was just so nice. I had done a presentation at the Rotary meeting on Thursday morning, and then they said, tonight from 6 to 8, we're going to meet up with Carla if anybody wants to come out, and you can grab a roller and a brush. And like 15 people came out, and it was just incredible. Not gonna lie, I took a little break while they were doing that. I was really tired, but
Y'all can handle it. I'm just going to sit back here.
delegating. Trays, making sure you have the right brush, staying in the right lines, all that good stuff. But yeah, and then a couple of people came out other mornings just to lend an extra hand as well, and we nailed it. It looks amazing. And now
Oh.
I can go out too and say, oh, I painted a part of that.
Well, it truly makes it I have to say I was a little reluctant to contact you because I was like, I like to do local artists, people who are local, and you're in Charlotte. Uh, But I love this. This brings it all together because it is really truly a Danville community project because you had those helpers and you used the local people to and they have ownership of it now. So
Absolutely.
wonderful. They're going to fight for that and they're going to be out there if there's any taggers come out, they're going,
Oh yeah,
I painted that. No.
probably put a camera on there. Get him. Well, it's really great too, because from the get-go, when we had started discussions and we were still in our consult phase, they did ask, had I coordinated any community projects before, because they really did want to involve the community from the get-go. And I told them that I organized a community event in Concord, North Carolina, where the whole kind of area came together for a mural that was for sort of an at-risk kids school. And so we painted an entire retaining wall. It was a block long. And I kind of painted really big sunflowers, and I had the community come out, mainly the kids, and they got to dip their hands in paint and slap their hands onto the wall, whatever colors they wanted to, inside of all the sunflowers. And so their hands were sort of the sunflower seeds, and coming together to bring that community together and show that all these different handprints can make. That's what makes a community, all these people coming together. And I think that they really liked that. And I said, I can definitely involve the community. I'm very good at this. I love working with people. I love teaching. So it was really cool how everyone just kind of came together, helped
Oh,
me. I felt special.
I love it. I love it. I love these hometown stories. That's so awesome. Let's see. I'd ask that. I'm. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the mural or about the process or anything that I've forgotten to ask or?
I had ideas earlier and then they've completely just poof, right out of my head. But I will say, continuing on with the Danville thing, I kept calling it like the happiest place on earth because everyone was so incredibly nice to me. I told them that they have now set the bar to which I will measure all other clients against from here on out. I did have the privilege of going back to Danville last week because Rick Barker, one of the other Rotary members, hired me to do a mural in his garage, which let's call it a garage very loosely because it is a gorgeous space. I don't see garage when I look at it. I see a place I would totally live. But got to go do that one. And currently, I do have a light week. We talked about that a little bit earlier, which is very nice. I've needed a bit of a break. Did overbook myself this year, which I'm going to try to do better about next year. We'll see how long that goes. That went until about May this year. And then I just overbooked constantly. I get too excited. But I've got a couple other projects coming up soon. So tomorrow I have a consultation with the owner of Vortex Bottle Shop, and I got to paint a mural for him a year or two ago in his first location for the bottle shop, and now I'm going to be doing one for a second location that they're opening up. And then I have two in-home murals, which I'm super excited about because one parent who obviously loves their kid a lot has building this entire playroom in the kids' room, which is going to have like slides and monkey bars and
Oh,
want it to be dinosaur themed. So I will be painting this entire set essentially all in this dinosaur theme. And then I've got a really fun one coming up, which is going to be totally outside my comfort zone because it is truly cartoony. And this family loves their cats and they love video games. So I'm designing a mural with 4 cats playing video games with the headsets and the controllers, and then all sorts of video game characters kind of zipping around. And I really want to bring in like some retro video games too, because
oh,
that's
that's cool.
never played video games when my parents had Atari because they wouldn't give me Nintendo. Beyond that, it's fine. So really fun stuff coming up.
Oh,
And
sounds great.
yeah, it's just life is great, but I'm taking a little bit of a break this week, and then I'll get back to it. So,
Well, I'm going to show the whole video, I mean the whole mural one more time, and so everyone can see how beautiful it is and why you're so busy and so much in demand because your artwork is gorgeous. Um, and wait a minute. Okay, hold on. I gotta show him one more time. The little guy. There he is. Your favorite one,
I
which
love it.
I have to say was my favorite as well.
Really? Oh, yay.
He's so happy. I love him.
Smile at that. I really do love painting things that make people feel just joy.
Mhm.
There are so many different kinds of artists out there with so many different kinds of messages and what they want from their art. It's just across the board different. And really, for me, I'm a simple lady. I just want to make really fun art that makes people happy. And if I'm doing that, then I'm doing a really good job. And that's all I care about.
Well, Carla, it has been a joy to get to know you and to meet with you and talk with you. And you are a joyful person, so I really appreciate that. And thank you for sharing your art with us, and thank you for sharing some of your techniques and how you feel about it and your inspiration. I really appreciate you joining us. Thanks.
you. Thank you so much.